Welcome to Patriot Network TV. I'm Hank Giesecke, and I want to talk about this illegal immigrant surge that we've got going on here at this stage. I'm not going to talk about some of the little stuff. We all know that we've got disease coming in here. We all know that we've got illegals coming in here. We've got probably terrorists from all around the world coming in here. We know all that. We've seen that situation, and there's been a lot of talk about that. I want to talk about two big issues and throw out the possibility of what's going on here in the big picture, because it's a national issue. We have a border patrol, and their role, one of their roles, of course, is national security. The other is public safety. And the national security issue is one of those that gets basically no attention. Nobody's asking the big questions as to what's going on here. So I want to cover two things today. One is, who will this unchecked, purposely caused surge hurt the most in our nation? And what we're going to find out, we already see the data coming in. It doesn't take all these children, supposed children coming in here. And by the way, as a footnote, it isn't just children. It's a lot of these are gang members who are older. As you know from the news, Michigan, a little Michigan town turned back these people. They were all male kids up in age, so they weren't children by any means. So the worry was, of course, of gang members and all kinds of stuff. And this gang, this MS-13, by the way, is very violent. There's some very scary stuff of beheadings and all kinds of stuff that these people have done. So anyway, but who's going to hurt the most? It's going to hurt the low-wage earners in this nation the most. And the data already figures that out. So here we have Obama and the Democratic Party basically throwing low-wage earners, which for the most part includes the black community, under the bus. Why? Because they have a new favorite, and the new favorite is the Hispanic vote. Look at the violence that goes on in the southern part of Chicago during 4th of July. It was terrible. Dallas, on and on kind of thing. And where are we helping them? This is the 50th year of the war on poverty. We know that's been a disaster in terms of helping poverty. It hasn't done a thing. What it's done is create an entitlement class that doesn't help them. And sometime we'll talk about that whole issue of just what does it do to a person to be on the dole all the time. It doesn't help that person. And so we've got, as I say, plenty of evidence. We've got a fellow named Peter Kirsanow, who's a black attorney and member of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on Civil Rights, and he says very definitely that this whole immigration surge in general, as well as this latest one, is going to hurt the black community the most. Illegals take the highest percentage of low-wage jobs. We know that. The data shows that. Harvard professor George Borges did a thing, and he showed from 1980 to 2000 that there was a 7.4% wage reduction for lower wage families. Now you factor in inflation, you've got a real problem, because it doesn't take long at the grocery store to realize that we're getting hurt from both ends. We're not getting increases, and the inflation on gas and food and stuff like that is just enormous. Also, it's a little idiotic that our index of inflation purposely doesn't include gasoline and food, the two things that everybody buys and the two things that are going up very dramatically. So we've got an agenda going on here, as we well know. And in the case of Obama and the Democratic Party, my guess is that it basically is the Alinsky-Marx strategies, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Also, the Center for Immigration Studies have found out that since 2000, and I want you to think about this, the net gain in number of working age people, that's 16 to 65, a huge segment of our population, the net gain in number of working age jobs has gone to immigrants. So we're hurting our own people. We're hurting our own citizens. As I say, we don't even have an idea of how many people are in this nation illegally. NSA can track, they're tracking over 80% of us now, but they don't know illegal immigrants that are here? It's crazy. Okay, so who it's going to hurt most are the lower wage portions of our society, and for the most part that's the black community. So they're being thrown under the bus in favor of the Democratic Party and Obama's favorite new, what we want to call a trophy wife, of the Hispanic vote. It's disgraceful. Second thing is that what are these children being used for and why? I mean, the argument first was, well, there's all this violence and stuff in South and Central America. It's always been that way. I mean, there's nothing new about that. So why all of a sudden the surge here? Well, let's take the big picture look at this thing. We do have elections coming up. Election this year in November, election in 2016 coming up. And so we also look at the bigger picture and we realize that Obama and the Democratic Party, or many in the Democratic Party, are big fans of Alinsky. What is the strategy? Is there a strategy here that's maybe going on? And so we remember his famous statement is that he's here to fundamentally transform this nation into the New World Order kind of thing. So let's look at what's going on here. As these children come in here, what's happening is they're being dispersed all over the place. Now wait a minute. If they're supposed to go back at some point, why wouldn't we keep them in the southern part of the United States instead of putting them all over the place? And I'm going to throw out to you the idea that maybe what we have here is a Trojan horse idea going on. What do I mean by that? These children, and the left uses children all the time. They love it. They're putting them all over this nation. And guess who's starting to come alongside and help with the children to protect them? Is La Raza and groups like La Raza, who are very anti-American, who are radical, who are violent, and who are there to be a dissident within our towns and cities all over our nation. Now it's interesting when you watch some of this stuff because these children are being used as pawns. Already in Murrieta, the La Raza people are in there to try and help. And it's intriguing also to notice that the person who's in charge of this stuff for the administration is a woman named Cecilia Munoz. And she was part of La Raza until she joined the administration. So we're already seeing this Trojan horse going into our cities and towns where now we'll have these people all in there, and we need to be thinking about the long-term effects on our nation to cause chaos and disruption. Finally, I want us to remember Arizona was noted for SB 1070, and 1070 was one of those things that protected our citizens. That's the first job of our government, supposedly, and if we'd have had that in place and enforced as it should have been, I mean, the feds are primarily responsible for this, guess what? We wouldn't have had the problems we are having. They stopped and wrote Oracle the other day down in Arizona. But that's an issue that we need to be thinking about when we look at this big picture. What's the long-term issue here? And so again, I let you think about this, let people know what's going on. Let's have discussion at this because we, the people, need to be involved. Thank you for joining us.